Hey, we're back again. 10:50 late night talk. All right, we about to get it on. We got all sorts of guests with us tonight. Here we go. Here we go.
There you go.
All right, so we got Andre, we got LB, and we got King Brad. All right, I'm gonna unmute everybody. Let them talk one at a time. Andre, introduce yourself, boss. What you got to say?
Hey, what's going on, man? My name is Andre down here in Miami from great state of Maryland. It's good to be here, man, to debate. Not debate, I'm sorry. We're not debating. We're having a conversation.
Discuss. Discuss.
I'm not debating.
Yeah. Discuss.
Discuss.
Hey, what you
I
got?
don't like to say the debate.
Yeah, LB. How you
Yeah.
doing, boss?
What it do, brother? How you doing, man?
All right, and then we got our King Brad. What's up, King Brad?
Oh, my fault, man. I'm on mute. I'm good, man. What's up, man?
All right, and then of course we got Kenny and Glenn. Bear with us. It's the first time we've ever had 6 people on live, so could be a lot of feedback. We're gonna try and Kenny, unmute yourself. We're gonna try and get everybody involved here. So we were discussing BLM. All right, so BLM, good thing or bad thing? Let's start with Andre, LB, and King Brad.
Yeah. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
Yes.
Right
What
now,
do
I
you
would say
got?
it's absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You hear? All right, great. Yeah. First off,
Yeah.
it's absolutely a good thing. 100%. Well, maybe not 100%, but it's a good thing. And to me, I think I heard you guys discussing, and there's the difference between the BLM movement and just overall Black Lives Matter. So I want to kind of make that distinguish. I want to distinguish. I want to separate because I'm just going to be 100. I'm not overly familiar with the movement in it itself, and so I can't necessarily comment anything. If I comment about the movement in terms of the actual organization, I would be a little bit, I would be a little misinformed. However, from what I see, from everything that's going on right now, which is unprecedented times, I feel like it is absolutely imperative and it's important and it's necessary. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of social injustices, systematic injustice, you name it, right? And so they're covering it, and I think it's from that viewpoint, it's nothing but a good thing.
King Brad, unmute yourself. You're up next, boss. All
Hey,
right,
man. Black
back your
Lives
boy
Matter.
up. Back your boy up. What do you think?
Black Lives Matter. It's
Oh, we
needed.
all know that,
Okay.
and I think we're all in agreement with that.
So what's the argument?
Is the movement is what is going on right now and today? What you see all over the place. Are you in agreement that it's making strides? That it's actually changing something?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking you. Provide me some feedback. Why you say absolutely?
Because right now, this is the first time I think this generation, not our parents' generation, this generation is actually attempting to get things done through action based, not just marching and not just protesting. It's also some action based behind it. We are just scratching the surface on what this generation is about to do. And this generation is a different generation where their movement is more, let's put the boots on the ground, not only, but let's back up what we are talking about, where we're just not going to be doing this. So absolutely it's making strides.
So what exactly has been done? Can y'all hear me? Everybody can hear me? Just want to make sure. I just wanted to see what you feel like has been done that has moved Black people forward. That's in terms of, you're saying
Kenny,
it's not just talk.
Who you talking to? Who you want to? Who
I'm
you want
talking
to
in general.
Right.
So this is to anybody who wants to comment
Well,
back.
first off, Kenny, that's your words. Nobody's talking about moving Black people forward. I don't think I mentioned it moving Black people forward. So first off, you talking about moving Black people forward. I think that's Black people, we gods, we kings, bro. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta move us forward, bro. What we're trying to do is we're just trying to make sure that the other side, which is white people or racist people or white supremacists, they understand who we are. We ain't trying to move nobody forward. We here. We here. We waiting on others to catch up. We waiting on others to catch up and realize who we are. We know who we are. You understand what I'm saying? We knew who we are for 400, 500 years. We was just being oppressed. I'm about to pick at you in your words.
If you're a king, how can a king be oppressed?
Well, you gotta understand something. When you steal somebody from their lands, which did not happen. Can we all agree in agreements?
No, stolen from their lands?
Well, so how do we get here though?
No, just so you know, here's how slavery works.
Oh, you're gonna tell me how slavery works?
Well, I'm gonna tell you how I believe it does. And you can certainly let people Google it for themselves. But yeah, slavery.
No, you're about to justify. You're about to justify some rhetoric. But go ahead.
Whoa! Justify. This isn't about justification. Justification is a judgment based on a situation. I'm just saying what happened. What happened?
Oh, my fault. My fault. What time were you there?
What do you mean? What time was I there? I read.
Well, I don't think any one of us was there. So
yeah, I mean, none of us were there. That's
go ahead. No,
historically speaking, according to history books, it could be lying, but according to history, the way that it worked for a long, long period of time was when you would have a battle between two people, right? Two areas to try to gain land acquisition. There was a winner and there was a loser. The losers, they went.
A basketball game?
So people don't lose wars?
Go ahead, man. I'm listening. Go ahead.
They don't lose wars?
Go ahead, Kitty.
They didn't fight over land?
Yeah, the Confederacy lost. The Confederacy lost.
Historically, there's lots of wars. They've happened throughout all time. They happen today. You know that still, right? Like Hong Kong is fighting over land right now with China? No? So when you lose people, and those people become slaves. It's not the right thing. I'm not justifying anything. That is just how it works.
Wait. No, hold up.
Let him finish.
No, because he was saying they were POWs. He was saying that blacks were POWs.
It's not blacks. It's blacks on lots of different sides. I'm talking about in any battle. Sometimes it was black people and black people. The
so
slaves,
you were saying they were POWs. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, they were
POWs. That's all I want to know.
Except
POWs,
for they were treated as slaves. I mean, it was different, but essentially, yes, they were POWs.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'm mute.
Then they were looked at as property. Again, slavery is horrific, but they just weren't stolen. It wasn't like somebody was walking down the street and somebody threw them into a truck, kidnapped them.
That's what you got from the word stolen? Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm educated. I could have used a better word, and I apologize. You're right.
Okay, so let me. So okay, so that's what I was saying.
Right? That's why we're having this discussion. Because
no, I'm actually going to get my thesaurus. I just want to make sure that I use better words next time.
I think words are interpreted different ways. When you send a text message, I don't know what you're trying to interpret when you send that text message.
Hey, yo, Fred. And you know what? Fred, did I not apologize?
No, I'm just saying your word might be different than my word, so that's why we discussed it, right?
Freddie, I know better.
Okay.
When you in a debate, you got to be careful with the words you choose.
Discussion. We ain't debating shit. We're discussing. We're talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's that word again.
Yeah. So all I'm saying, and I mean, I think individually, everybody's a god to themselves, a king to themselves. I use moving forward because that's the terms that I've seen. I just do me. So I'm not moving forward, I guess, anybody except for the people that I'm around. So, I mean, where do you want to go from there in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement? Okay, what have they done to put you back on your throne, or
if y'all missed it because you joined late,
or however you want to put it? What is Black Lives Matter doing for that?
No, I think Jermaine has something to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead, G. I'm mute.
I just want to go back to the POW thing because I'm reading. You know, Kenny, I ain't read too much when we was in high school because I played ball. So this is what this says, okay? It says, how were people actually enslaved? It says, slaves in Africa were captured in wars or in surprise raids on villages. Adults were bound and gagged, and infants were sometimes thrown in sacks. To me, that doesn't sound like a POW, Joe. You can't sneak.
Hold up. They were raided. So
yeah, they were raided.
So hold up. What do you call looters? When you go to stores, they raid something. You're stealing, correct? You're stealing something that's not yours. Property that's not yours. Things that's not yours. Read that again for me, Jermaine.
Oh,
I'm sorry, one more time, man. Because he just
okay.
said that. He said, I just want to make sure.
Slaves in Africa were captured in wars or in surprise raids on
That was one
villages.
aspect. Surprise raids.
Adults were bound and gagged, and infants were sometimes thrown in sacks. One of the early first-hand accounts of African slaves trade from a seaman named Gomes, Eanes, whatever, who witnessed the Portuguese raid on African village.
Raid. Okay, just thank you.
Right.
So when you're raiding a village in a war, that's not a war? Just trying to make sure I understand.
But no, but if
they were having a war, they weren't having a war.
No. If I'm
You just read
Kenny, if I'm raiding,
wait. What does that have to do with Black Lives Matter?
No, we were talking about
what they said.
slaves being prisoners of war. If I raid Gambrels right now, and Kenny, you got 600 kids. If I raid Gambrels, and I just start like scooping your kids up and stuff like that, and doing stuff like that, like how are they prisoners of? I mean,
because that's not how it would happen. You would have a group of people going in. No. I know. Are you listening to what you read? What you read literally said war. Did it not?
No. Listen.
Did it say war? Yes or no? Did it say WAR? War.
Oh, Dave Uzeric. Oh my.
Did it just say war? You said yes. So let me explain how a war works since I've been to war. Okay. That's
not what I said, but wait.
You didn't say war in there? You didn't say war.
No.
That was actually part of it. All slaves weren't brought over as prisoners of war. I mean, most you did have slaves that were prisoners of war. You also had slaves that were. I mean, slaves were brought over all sorts of ways.
I think Dre has something to say, man.
They were, the whole bit. Tied up, rag thrown over their head.
No, I was talking about
the whole thing. So they weren't
just prisoners
of war.
Not even. What's the question?
Not even 50% were just prisoners of wars. Especially in terms of America.
It was or. I said or.
It wasn't that way.
I said wars, or it was two different things. That it was wars or something else. It was two, as Glenn said.
Exactly. So, and it's the same thing. So slaves here weren't always prisoners of war. I mean, they were brought and sold, and there was an entire slave trade without any war at all.
Right.
And without any war at all. So. That's not America was built on white supremacy.
And also, keep in mind,
So,
there was indentured servants. Oh, my bad. You hear me? Look, keep in mind, there was indentured servants at one point that almost like jail, right? Before jail, they would serve a time. They would be enslaved for a time period, right? And then they would be released or whatever the case is, right? That's a fact. You heard about it. Everyone heard about it. They're white indentured servants, right? It was a class thing at one point, right? You learned that in history. Mr. Fishaber taught that, right? Right? So look, what I'm trying to say is this as well. Look, Black people came to America and had kids that were slaves, generations upon generations upon generations. And that's what you got to think about. So like, the enslavement thing was like, the indentured servant thing from a certain time period. Okay, you did a crime, whatever the case is, before the jail system or whatever. All right, you did 30 years, whatever. You're a slave for this amount of time. Then your whole fucking family, your generation. Come on, and then in that dimension, even when
nobody
slavery
agrees
was
with
abolished,
slavery.
Even when slavery was, but I know, but listen, but even when slavery was abolished, you still had the Reconstruction era. Then you had Jim Crow. You had all this other shit that you had to deal with on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So like, really, truly, the Black Lives Matter movement, bringing it back, it's fucking phenomenal right now. What's going on right now is you're talking about change. I don't know what kind of change you expect. And I want to ask you this. What kind of change do you expect right now? What are you expecting? What are your expectations?
Great question, my brother.
Sure.
Good question.
Hey, guys, if you're not talking, though, please mute your phone because it gives back feedback. Sure, my expectations right now would be that there are discussions in the leaderships in the areas of where there's the most poverty, and that we, first of all, I guess it's a tiered step. So let me start with the first tier. The first tier is we take away the crimes that are on the lower end of the spectrum. So nonviolent crimes become more like fees or things like that than jail. So I'm for expanding the First Step Act so that nonviolent criminals, the 3-step laws will be rescinded and those people can be set free. I'm for less minor laws, less police interactions, defunding those areas in which they're not repeat violent offenders. So that's what I would like to see the discussion. So that would be one thing.
So I think we can all agree that less laws on the book is probably a good thing. Less people getting locked up for misdemeanors, probably a good thing, right? Yes? No?
It's a great thing.
Finish.
Absolutely.
It's a great thing. But
absolutely.
You know what?
You know what?
It's a great thing, right?
I mean, that's what we need. I mean, 41 million.
Hey, but it's a great thing. But you know what? You know I've come to learn? Let me ask you something. All you guys, have you guys ever heard of Angela Davis?
Yeah.
You nod your heads because have you read any of her information or listened to information? I don't know how you feel about her, but I listened to one of her books recently on Audible, and very intelligent, well-spoken, great ideas, okay? So
I think she has horrific ideas. She's a Marxist, but go ahead.
Let's see, I know you would. But like all this, a lot of shit is propaganda.
No,
nope, I get into that. I can really. Let me ask you this: How did America become America? Like how before the because our Independence Day was what 1776, right? You know, we talk about the Boston Tea Party, right? How we founded? How did America become America? And why is America America? And I'll get into and when you answer that question, I'll explain later why I think the American flag now is becoming the new Confederate flag. I will answer that later. I really will. Go ahead.
So when did America become America? That's the question you want to ask. Because you asked me what I thought should be done. I started getting into it, and we didn't go from anywhere with there. But okay. When did America become America? When they got over here and they won the war to the revolutionary. Well, when we took over lands from the Indians, ended up basically taking
we're all here because
area, and then they fought against the revolution, the Great Britain to get their freedom and be able to start their country over here. So that's when we first became a country. So let's see where we're going here. I mean, I'm not sure what any of this has to do with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. I get the history lesson. I get the history lesson. You guys, yeah, we want to understand what's going on.
White guy bad, I know. Slavery horrible. Everybody agrees.
I don't know what any of this
racism bad.
Change anything moving forward.
So, I mean, go ahead, Andre. What do you got there?
Nah, man. Hey, repeat that part again. I kind of missed, man. I've been having technical difficulties. I've been struggling with this.
Okay, all I'm saying is that
I'm sorry.
We came over here, slaughtered Indians,
right?
We fought a war, or we first fought against Indians, took their land, and then ended up fighting subsequent wars, freeing ourselves from Great Britain, and then that's what we became.
Let me stop you right there. Let me ask you this question, Kenny. Let me ask you this question. Why did you fight the Indians? Why did you fight? Why did
land acquisition?
But why?
Why? Because that's the way that the world's been going for 4,000 years. Why? You mean why? Huh? Why? Because that's how people have done it for 4,000, 5,000 years. That's how land acquisition is developed. That's how it happens.
Kenny, that's one of the worst answers that you could ever give, and I'm surprised that you gave that answer. To be honest with you, that's the worst answer because that's the way it always has been. Don't you know that?
Andre, we weren't here when that happened.
This is the way
you weren't here either. Yes, that's why they did it, Andre. That might hurt your feelings, but that's the truth.
What? What's the truth?
They did it for land acquisition. We weren't there, so I didn't do it. So I don't know how that's a stupid answer because they've always done it that way. You didn't ask why we should have done it.
Why did they want to acquire? Kenny. Why do they want to acquire land? Why do they want to acquire that land? This land? Why? First off, let's start with who? Who are they? Expats from Britain that came? Is that what it is? I mean, like me. Who are they? Who's the original? Who came over here and colonized? Explain that to me.
What do you mean? Why do you need? You don't know it? Come on, Andre.
Because this is what we're
you got to come with a point.
No. But
hold on one second. Hey, go ahead, Brad. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, first off, guys, I think Freddie mentioned this. I don't think we need history lessons right now. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. The conversation was around Black Lives Matter. I think I answered, I think Dre answered, and I think we were semi all in agreement that is doing something positive. I think Kenny mentioned moving forward. I think we got to the history. So boom. So we all in agreement. So what's the next topic? Because I think, like I said, I'm trying to get caught up on what you guys were discussing tonight. So if Glenn and because
our discussion tonight was whether, I don't think that Black Lives Matter is helping to accomplish eradicating racism. I don't believe that it's you. So I don't think that it's helping people get to. So for me,
Brad,
where I think that they should be
that way.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so why I feel that way is because there is, in my opinion, there's an issue with the families. And when you talk about the institutional Black family that I feel like was, and it's a fact, they had 83% of Black fathers were in the home back before the civil rights movement in the 50s. And then once they put in these things that basically kept single women on these programs to be able to get more money, that hurt the Black home. It took the dads out of the home. They also accompanied that with the 3-strike law that came after that. They did it with police reform. They did all these things to try to indoctrinate and imprison Black fathers to keep them out of the home. So that's why I believe that unproportionately the murder rates are high and those types of things. So for me, I want to see something discussed about that because I've done, statistical work on that, doing the Dads Matter stuff that I did. And so I know that that's the case. And there is nothing from Black Lives Matter that has addressed that at all. They're actually anti-nuclear family. And so that's what I said. And
so Kenny, it's a good thing I can read lips, LB, because I got you, boss. He said, what the fuck does this have to do with Black Lives Matter? I saw that. So he's asking you and maybe you addressed it and I missed it. I was out the room. So maybe you can
you're saying what does because to me, Black Lives Mattering.
No. Because you gave another history lesson. You said we didn't want history lessons. That's another history lesson.
No. That is what's happening today. We all okay. Today, there is bad laws on the books. Today, right now. I'm
Black. So thank you for telling us what we already know. Now, I think what we're trying to get to, Kenny, is from your perspective. And I think for us being Black, telling you that we matter, telling you that this movement means something, all you need to do, Kenny, is go, man, you know what, man? I appreciate it. What can I do to help? Like, I don't need Kenny. I'm Black, bro. I may look like this, but I'm Black. I mean, I know you got Black friends. I heard you say that. I see one right now. I see two of them here. All I'm saying is this, though. All you gotta do, bro, is when we talk these talks, it's great that you guys have. My big thing is, why is this Black Lives movement? Why does it get underneath the skin of? And I'm pivoting, so I apologize if I'm pivoting.
No.
Apologies are sarcastic.
No, I'd like to answer that.
Yeah, I would like to answer that. My apologies are sarcasm, but I'm pivoting.
Okay, so you don't.
Why does Black Lives get underneath?
Cool. So the reason why it gets underneath the skin is because I am very passionate about wanting to see success for the Black community. And so for me, I want to see that success. So when I see Black Lives Matter, the organization, nobody has a problem. I don't have any problem with people saying Black Lives Matter. It's that the organization doesn't align with the values that I think are going to be successful to helping the Black community.
Who are you, Kenny?
What?
Or you John Brown? Like Kenny? Like
sorry, I know this might bother you, but I like Black people and care about Black people just as much as you do. You might think that's differently, and that might be racist. But I care about
Kenny,
people.
You know me. Kenny, we had conversations. You know I don't think that way about you. Stop. Kenny, you know I don't think that way about you.
So why am I John Brown then?
But I'm saying though, Kenny, but you just made a comment, Are you fighting for us or are you fighting against us? What's your track record?
Of fighting for Black people, not for Black Lives Matter, the organization. I'm very in favor of black people. I didn't business partner up with. I've never business partnered up with white people before in my life.
Kenny,
I have with black people.
Kenny, you know that don't mean anything, right?
Well, maybe to certain people it doesn't. Maybe to certain people it doesn't.
Black people. Your arguments are flawed. You know, partnering up with black
people. No, they might not. You might not agree with the argument, but there's actually nothing I can ever say to prove I'm not racist or to prove I care deep enough about the black community. But everything I've done in my life, I believe, has been for the betterment of people. I've defended people. I've done all the things that I feel like I can do because I love people. And for whatever reason, because when I was a kid, my mom used to say, "Oh, Kenny, you always are friends." Like, it's so funny. She's like, if there's one black kid in your school, that's going to be your best friend. I said, yeah. The first time I brought home a white girl, she was like, that was unexpected. So that's just the way that I am. Okay. I was Mr. T. I know it's blackface nowadays, but I was Mr. T because I loved Mr. T. I idolized Michael Jordan. All my idols growing up were black guys. So I cared about, I mean, there's no defense of anything I can say that's going to prove it. It's just, I do care. You can believe it or you cannot believe it. But the organization, if I don't believe that destroying the nuclear family, which I think has been one of the problems that I feel like is systematic racism, then why would I possibly believe in an organization that also believes in the breakdown of the family unit?
I think bringing this up because these are known statements made by the so-called leaders in charge of Black Lives Matter, right? They've come out and said, hey, look, we're about breaking the family up. We're about division. So this has been the leaders have come out and said this.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think that everybody out there that's protesting Black Lives Matter know who the leaders of Black Lives Matter are?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So do you think that majority of the kids that are out there, and I'm gonna call them kids because I'm pretty old. Do you think the majority of the kids that are out there? I'm just focusing on
kids. Us too. We're old too.
Okay. Do you think the majority of the kids are out there that are standing for this? I think they are standing for the Black Lives Matter. I think somebody put in the chat. You guys are taking it political. So I think there's two wars going on. I think there's a political war going on agenda, and I think it's really a Black Lives Matter agenda going on. And I think that's something that I don't think you guys, as being, white Americans, can really understand. You understand? Like the average kid out there doesn't know who the leader of the Black Lives Movement is, doesn't understand the rhetoric that goes behind the Black Lives Movement, all the rumors and the gossip. They're out there because in their mind, they're saying my life matter. I'm going to let you know my life matter, and I'm going to stand up for it. I'm going to do something different.
And
what you're doing, Kenny, is you're a right guy.
There is a bunch of good going on.
Angle, which is
I think there's a bunch of good going on that.
Hold on, Brad.
That's not what the news puts on the air. You know what I'm saying? The news is all about division, so we don't get to see all the good things happening.
And Brad, actually, we've had that discussion on even in that, I think you guys came on a little late, but early on in the show, we discussed how, yes, I believe that all Black lives matter. Yes, I believe Black lives people's mattering. I believe their lives are inherently as value as a king or a god, like you said earlier. I believe all that. So what we were discussing was whether or not the organization is a representative where what they're doing to people like myself, when I say I don't agree with the organization, is they look at it and say, oh, so you're not thinking that Black Lives Matter. Yes, I do. But my concern is I feel like they're selling a bag of goods, the organization,
Kenny,
and then they're using that platform.
Sorry, what do you mean, Kenny? So we all agree. I think a little bit. I think a couple of you guys were talking a little bit of shit about Angela Davis, which I do not respect, but I understand. However, because it's all propaganda. Now, let me ask you this. This is a major thing. I'm ex-military, 8 years. You know this. Army, right? Right? You're Marine. Brad has military. Jermaine has military. He knows people in the military. We all know people in the military. We come from a military environment area, right? A lot of bases close to us. Let me ask you this, though, right? Defunding the police. When I went out there, I went to a protest out here in Miami, a peaceful protest, not one of the ones you guys hear on Rush Limbaugh. right? I went to a peaceful protest, very peaceful. However, I seen the sign defund the military. It made me, Eric, initially it hurt me. I was like, I felt weird looking at it, defund the police. I was like, no, I don't agree with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know about it. Yo, I went, educated myself, listened to Angela Davis. I read a couple articles.
Y'all in trouble now.
It's more like, you know, like reappropriating the money, right? And I looked it up. I just fact checked. I said, I'm in the state of Florida. So let me go do a quick Google search. How much money is taxpayer money is being spent on, what's the budget for prison system here in the state of Florida? And can you guys, I'm just gonna tell you the number because it's astonishing. You never guessed it. $2.7 billion. $2.7 million. So let's say you cut it in half, right? Cut it in half. And then you
Hey, look, hold on. I just muted you for a second. If you say you're going to ask a question, you got to get to the question. I'd love to answer it, but you got to get to your question, Andre. I love you, brother.
I can't even hear.
I can't even hear. Got to get to the question, brother.
Funding. How do you feel about defunding?
Okay, so Glenn, you haven't spoke since me and you agree on most of, I think, the defunding part.
My bad. My question is, how do you feel about defunding? That's all.
Can we stay focused, dog, man? I feel like we all over the place.
Well, defunding is a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. Would you disagree, Brad?
No, but I'm waiting for Ken. I feel like we okay. Go ahead, continue. Because I can't hear Dre's question. I don't know what Dre was saying.
Oh, I got you. So Dre, just for anybody,
he's trying to adjust Dre.
For anybody that didn't hear it, he had asked me what I thought about defunding the police. So defunding the police is
okay. I know it has something to do with Black Lives Matter. So are we all now? Are we all? Because we have new people join in. So that's the first topic is done. We're moving on now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's a similar discussion. One of the issues I have with Black Lives Matter, the organization, okay, is that they don't have, and we talked about it on your show actually when it came to leadership, having that leadership, that voice, so that they'll have a distinct direction. And so that comes up with the defund the police, because there's certain organizations that say that means full abolishment. And then there's other organizations.
All right, so let's move on to that. Let's move on to defund the police. Does that mean get rid of, or does that mean over the next 5 years we slowly keep taking money away until
reallocation,
the citizens police themselves?
Reallocation. I think the word defund I think definitely money should be reallocated. The amount of money that's going to the police departments, and if they're not being adequately and properly trained to handle.
So King Brad. That sounds good, right? That sounds good. But what happens when your family has a home invasion? Who are you going to call? Don't say you have a 9 under your bellow or in your safe. I get that. You might be able to protect yourself. All right. But let's play devil's advocate. Let's say you don't have any of that. Who you call?
In this climate, I'm not going to call the cops because they might think I'm breaking into my own house. And then
okay. And that's a valid point. That's a very valid point.
Okay. So just on that point, and I don't want to beat up on the lawn, but I actually looked up the stats on that, and Black people actually call the police more than white people. So some people, not you, Brad, I'm just saying some people are going to be calling a number and maybe not having the same response that they agree that they're standardly typical to. Now,
well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I
really like to say how I feel about defunding.
Do you think it's appropriate to send white cops into urban areas to diffuse situations?
Do I think it's appropriate?
I think
it would depend.
Police in their own neighborhoods.
You think
I said,
any policemen in this chat?
Better situation if you had certain police policing their own neighborhoods. So, like, I know you, I know your family. I'm not going to do something irrational to you based on something because I know you. I grew up with you. I'm policing my own neighborhood. Let's go around the room. Hey, listen, we got three new people. We got 3 new people.
Yeah,
let them real quick.
Yeah, these are I wanted to answer King's question, but go ahead.
All right, Kenny, answer. You got 2 minutes.
Yeah, real quick, Brad. So here's how I feel about, and Big Ben, we'll get to you. No, nobody hears from the police, just so you know. So when it comes to defunding police, my big issue, which me and Glenn actually and Fred talked about it before, I think they even brought it up, okay, is that we're in favor of some defunding of the police and reallocation. Okay, my problem is that if you do not change those laws that I talked about, that actually there was a DJ, Miss Johnson, that was on one of Trump's panels that he talked to, spoke about this. But if you don't drop those laws down, keeping the same amount of laws and having less police is going to be a catastrophic mistake. Whereas if you drop some of those so that you have less laws on the books, then you can start moving, like, making drugs more of a finable thing and making less beat police, less police up and down your block where they can have all these interactions and things can go poorly. Okay. They don't have the right to ask anybody, but they do it unjustly to a black guy at 2 o'clock in the morning, ask him where he's going. None of your business. So we've got to have those types of things where these cops are, if there is a 7-Eleven broken into, then you can ask a guy out front what he's been doing. But you don't get to just drive by and say, hey, what are you doing? It's 2 in the morning. I can tell you whatever the hell I want. So if you eliminate some of those laws, then you're going to have less police interactions, and then you can remove that money to people being detectives like they did in New Jersey and saw the increase in charging go up 60% on serious crimes, which is what I'm far more worried about than I am whether you got a bag of weed in your trunk.
Okay, so we lost one, but we still got Big Ben and CGM. So Big Ben, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Come on in.
Okay. So I agree with. Hello, everyone. I agree with King B. I believe the defunding should take place. However, the police departments as organizations need to be ran like organizations. So when I go into a corporate environment, typically what do I have to do? Take cultural awareness and diversity training. You understand? It's no different. It's just that on the street, I guess, you try to exert a certain amount of authority so that you're not challenged, or maybe it's overcompensation because you're projecting fear. It's one of the two that go on.
Great point. Great point.
Two that go on. So in order for that to happen, right? And here's the combination where you can't play God and say, well, you used to be a gangbanger, so we don't want to listen to you. No, you should probably listen to that person because that person probably has more rapport, more of control and behavior, more knowledge in their neighborhood, right? Right. So listen, when you come around here and you police, you talk to him. He'll tell you how to interact with certain groups. They should actually probably be paying gang members to come in and do these trainings. They should be treating police just like you do a work retreat, right? From a corporate, you go out, you guys do, what do you call it? Team building, right? Should probably be doing the same shit. So it's a combination of the two. But should they continue?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said right there, and that's one of the things I've talked about as well. I know Glenn's gone right now. I think his phone was dying, so we apologize on that behalf. But that having those people, I'm a big fan of people that have been through a grind, right? And coming back and talking about what they've been through and how they can build, knowing what they know now. I mean, that's a lot of the people that I do my research on. That's the type of person I want to learn from. I believe her name's Angela King, that had went on the Breakfast Club not long ago. And, I love hearing the stories, the redemption story. I mean, I want to see people doing well.
Angela Stanton.
Angela Stanton, but King's her hyphenated name, but yeah, Angela Stanton King.
King B, you in the Marines?
Yes, I was in the Marine Corps.
Okay. So in the Marine Corps, how did they teach you guys? Like, everybody goes home, or you're trying to get everybody home, right?
It's so funny. That's what I told Jermaine about what I think about proper training is, I think it goes back to the Rashad Brooks situation. I think if those cops were adequately trained on how to diffuse a situation and how to subdue a person, that's protecting and serving. I don't think what they did was protect and serve. And that's why.
And I'm sorry, which case did you, I missed, it glitched at the beginning. Which case?
The Rashad Brooks situation.
Rashad Brooks.
So it goes back to, I think if they were properly trained, I think that situation could have been diffused.
So where do you think, where do you think that the training there went wrong?
Well, I just think the training went there wrong. I just think there was some contradictory things between two different officers. Am I not mistaken?
No, I agree with that.
Okay, I think one officer was more compliant to letting Rashad Brooks go home that night. I think the other officer was into detaining him. So once you had that miscommunication, that's escalation. And we all know we're all from inner cities where miscommunication leads to escalation, can lead to death. So
So sorry, not to cut you short. Let me just get in here real quick. So the only problem that I had, first of all, is I am vehemently for having in that, let's say that same situation came up. And I think we may have even talked about this offline, Brad, before. But I've definitely talked about it with Freddie before, is that, I like the idea of going back to where a guy goes, hey, man, look, it's 2020. You can call an Uber. I don't think a DUI should send you to jail. I think it should send you home with a court date because they have your license, they have your car information, they have everything they need. But we haven't changed the laws. And that's my concern. If we don't change the laws, then to me, the Black Lives Matter movement, which coming full circle, what we were talking about, that's my issue. Until we
for the system to give somebody a DUI and send them to jail,
right?
Send them home.
You're going to try and ruin someone's life over one mistake. You know what I mean?
And Big Ed, to agree with what you're saying, I was talking to Fred and my other partner the other day, and just telling them I was driving to Jacksonville last weekend, and I saw 50 police officers in Jacksonville. Just so you know, is only 2 hours from my house. I probably passed 50 police officers. So when I hear defunding the police is going to cause all this increase in killing, I'm thinking you have 50 of them you could have cut out for one speeding ticket. So I don't like all those interactions. I think there should be just reckless driving. That's it.
Our only female on the panel right now. Our only female on the panel. Let's let her get a voice in here real quick. Let her.
And introduce yourself and everything.
Hey, CGM, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, and then go ahead and speak up.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm here because of the ventilators, I guess. I've been listening. I think my only reaction goes back to like your critique, Kenny, of Black Lives Matter as an organization. I would just flag for you that other civil rights movements in our country's history have been like sort of led by multiple different organizations. And I think Black Lives Matter will probably end up being that way too. So I think there's like, if you think about the civil rights movement in the 60s, there's like what the purpose of that was, which was to secure civil rights, right? But then there was like the Southern Leadership Conference, there's the NAACP, there are all these different organizations within that movement. So I would just push back on you a little bit to consider it as a movement when you say whatever your feelings or your thoughts on it, I would just sort of like separate if you feel like there's some leadership in some actual organization within the movement that you have a critique of versus critiquing the movement itself, which is specifically just about Black lives and police interaction and violence and all those things that it seems like you're on board with and support. So I would not use that like critique that you have on a specific organization or organizer to tear down the movement itself. And I think that's kind of like where people are missing each other. It's like the movement, and that's what most of the Black people on here are talking about. Like, yo, we're dying. Like, fuck all that. And I feel like you have specific critiques within like about organizations. So just looking back at the civil rights movement, you know that there was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 organizations within that, right? Like within that movement, like actual organizations, right? So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. And yes,
appreciate you. Thanks for joining.
For sure. That's cool. The concern that I have is that, yes, when you talk about the overriding movement, and that's a great example, that let's say everyone on here is actually talking about, and I keep bringing up the organization. Well, why? Is it because I don't care about the overriding organization? And I'll just tell you, no. The reason is that I am very concerned with the idea, and sorry guys, but folks, I gotta mute you if you're not talking because it makes it a lot of feedback. But the thing is that for me, that organization, if that organization is a globalist Marxist organization that wants to cause dissension in their in their mission statement, and then people are trying to do the right thing, so people just jump on board. So my daughter's a big Black Lives Matter, supporter. Okay. Now, I believe that I'm a bigger supporter of the movement, but she's a bigger supporter of the organization. And that organization, I feel like, is not going to be good. And so if we get to the point where all of a sudden these action items are taking place, and then it does come back to the organization, then I feel like it's going to put people in a bad spot, because I do worry about I am a believer in the, trying to have as many families as we can. I'm not against LGBTQ, but I don't believe for the most successful family, my belief is a man and a woman and their children in a nuclear home. And I see, if I'm trying to bring that up and they're starting an organization in which they're funding people to tell me that if I think this way, I'm homophobic or I'm transphobic, and that I want these, that is concerning to me as an organization. So do you have anything? You're free to chime in.
Yeah. So I have there are a lot of ideas kind of swimming around in what you said. So you mentioned Marxism too, and I feel like I've heard that critique a lot. Marxism. But Marxism is Americans have a really visceral reaction to anything that's sort of associated with that McCarthyism, sort of like communism era in history, right? Like
CGM. I think
right. But Marxism is it's a framework in analyzing societies. That's all Marxism is, right? And it's analysis that sort of gets you from capitalism to communism. So I'm pushing back on that whole, I think people hit these buzzwords like Marxism. And I'm just like, yeah, Marxism is it's just an analysis. It's just class warfare. And I think that's a fair assessment in American society right now. So I'm not afraid of the Marxist, I'm not afraid of that. Marxism sees an ultimate end, which is communism. And I don't believe that communism works because human beings are too shitty for us to all live in fucking eternal harmony and shit. That shit doesn't work. But I'm not afraid of Marxism, right? As a critique, as a way to analyze how our society works. So I just want to flag that for you too. Is I feel like that's one of those buzzwords that people pull out and they say it to make people feel scared. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm saying
no, for sure. So and I know you came in a hair late, so I'm not sure if you got this. And I do have the flag waving behind me. But so for me as a Marine, right, when I hear yes, and I've studied Marxism, so I understand that they're it's not all bad. I am concerned.
Yeah, right. It's
but I am actually concerned with globalist, communist ideals. Those things, they don't scare me because they're a buzzword. They scare me because I've seen countries and been to countries where I've seen it and it's horrific. And so I just have a different passion around that. But I totally agree that there are right wingers out there that use it as a punch word. To be honest with you, a lot of them, if you asked what it means, they probably wouldn't know.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fair. But when you're because it was two of the leaders that came out and said that they're trained Marxists, I almost would have rather they not said that. I think
I would too.
All right.
I would too, because people are like, Lenin, Stalin, Marxist, gulags. Dog, that's not what people are talking about. They're not talking about gulags. You know what I mean? I wish they hadn't said it too.
So
because you know why? Because it's marketing. To me, it's just marketing. I almost wish they wouldn't say defund the police because that sounds scary. I'm like, we need to get. I feel like this movement needs to be as strategic as right-wing movements about being manipulative. I understand what defund police means, but I'm like, that's scary to people. Marxism is scary to people. Don't say Marxism. Say
it takes the onus off of where you want the people.
Yeah, it takes the focus off of what we're trying to talk about, right? I'm like, oh God, don't say Marxism.
And see, that's where I go back to. That's the actual founders saying that, right? one of the things I think that they've done really well is by funding other Black Lives Matter organizations. Then when somebody comes out and says something, like the guy that came out today, or I guess it was just the other day, the Hank Newsom, right? He comes out and says all this racist stuff and says, I'm a Black Lives leader in New York. And then when Trump says that, they come back and go, no, he's not with us. And that's when you don't have a leader, you can kind of play that game. And sometimes there's probably, you know, like you said before, there with the civil rights movements of the past, there's some that need to be more aggressive and some that don't. I mean, there's different strategies to success for sure. So I would like, since you're all, and actually since Jamie just got here as well, Jamie, I'm just going to mute you, but when you want to talk, just go ahead and unmute yourself. But I'm going to come to you real soon. What I'd like to do is go around because I want to ask you guys, right? For me as a white guy, right, that does care about wanting to see, I want to see all people be successful in this country, and I don't want to see statistical.
Tell the truth, Kenny. Talk that talk, Kenny. Talk that.
Can we honestly believe Kenny? I mean, can we get past that point?
Say that again.
Do we believe you? Can we get past that point?
It doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, I don't care if all 7 of you think I'm a racist. That's not. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna wake up, love my kids, and try to help people. That's what I've been doing my whole life. So I'll be down training kids in the inner cities this weekend. You can do that or not do that. I don't give. I mean,
can I go first? Can I go first?
All right, yeah. But I want to make sure you understand what I'm asking.
Okay, but
hold on. King Brad, go first.
No, if I'm not mistaken, Dre was about to say something. I just want to make sure. I'm gonna let you finish because I want to make sure because I'm gonna say something.
You go next.
I think you were asking me what you can do, right? What do we want you to do as a white man?
No, what I was the finish to that was, as somebody that that my opinion of the organization, right, is not good. So how do I show that I support Black Lives Matter to you? Since earlier in the conversation, for those of you that weren't here, he had said that, you know, with me, and CGM kind of broke it up a little bit too, but I want to be able to be supportive of the movement, but without conceding my values towards an organization that most of their mission statement I disagree with. So what is the best way for me to do that so that I'm not saying, which I don't do the whole all lives matter thing.
Crystal touched on that. If you were listening, she was saying there's many different leaders of different organizations at different times. And I think she touched on it. And I want to paraphrase.
To answer your question.
No. Hold on, Andre.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. So I'm gonna we'll just go straight through here. I'll call each person out and they can tell me what they think I can do. But remembering that if I disagree with this organization, I'm not going to compromise my values on that organization. So outside of supporting an organization that I don't believe that the organization is correct, what can I do? And we'll start with you, Andre, and then we'll go to you, Jermaine. I don't know if everybody's set up the same as mine.
Kenny, what are your values? Kenny, what are your values? What are your values? What are your values, Kenny?
Okay. I mean, we'd be here all day. I'm going to sit here and tell you. I mean, you guys have got it. We're going to go to the next one, Andre. You can think about it as they say it and come back around. My values are I care about people. I care about children more so than anything else because I feel like they're going to be our future. I mean, it would take me forever to list all my values. I've told you the things that I disagree with Black Lives Matter. But let's go ahead and go to Jermaine. We'll give you a chance back. Andre, you know, you'll be able to come back around, but go ahead, Jermaine. Can you hear?
I mean, I don't have too much to say. I understand what you're saying, Kenny, about you not, agreeing with, the whole movement per se. But my only thing to you is you don't have to agree with, the movement itself, but you say you like to help people and, you're for all people. Wait, let me listen. You said you don't. That's what you said.
No, I didn't. So let's make this clear for everybody. I agree with the movement. I don't agree with the organization. Just like CGM had said earlier.
That's cool.
Okay.
That's cool. So everybody wasn't on here earlier. You said that you won't say Black Lives Matter. You won't wear a T-shirt. You're all lives matter and all this and all that. That's what you. No, that is what you said, Kenny. You didn't say that. You didn't say that
No,
when we
I've
first got
never
on here.
supported All Lives Matter. Never. You can ask Fred. He's been on the show with me for over 3 months. I've never
Okay,
been.
then I wasn't
Matter
listening. I was
never
just
been
hearing.
an All Lives Matter person. I did say that I won't say that I support Black Lives Matter because that's the organization. I will say all Black Lives Matter. I'll say
Okay, cool.
Black.
All right.
That type of stuff.
I defer to Jamie.
Movement, I agree
I
with.
defer to Jamie.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Jamie, unmute and say
Jamie.
hello to everybody. Let us know who you are.
Okay, I'm on. Can you hear me?
You're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't necessarily rock with the actual group Black Lives Matter like that, but that's irrelevant. I think the point that Brad made earlier was he was saying that, you know, those kids out there aren't necessarily out there for the actual organization. They're out there because of what that means. Black Lives Matter. So when it started, remember, it was birthed. Actually, some guys were in charge of the movement in the beginning. It birthed after Ferguson. So the whole point is that Black Lives Matter, the actual term, is not the organization. So supporting the organization means giving them money, means you know, being in conjunction with their mission statement, all of those things. If you go out and do what the masses are doing that also agree that actual Black Lives Matter, no one's gonna pick you out. You know, if you were Will Smith, maybe, but none of us are there yet. So you don't have to worry about being picked out and being isolated as, oh no, you agree with the organization, because all you have to do is what you're doing now, is say, if someone is curious, well, I support Black Lives.
I think Kenny does more than say it though. He goes out every weekend and he coaches individuals.
So then don't worry about. So then you don't worry about the affiliation with the organization. You're putting. It's like you know, I call myself a Christ soldier. I'm a Christian, but I don't agree with most Christians. You understand? So I came up with my own term, which is I'm a Christ soldier. And so I don't go around, you know, necessarily going, hey, I don't agree with Christians. I'm a Christ soldier. But if someone is curious to know my mindset, I'll break it down to them. So if you keep your energy in the right direction, which is that, you know, a Black life really does matter, and it needs to matter more than what, when people say, somebody on your chat was saying, why do we break it down into race? Like, that person is real, needs a whole lot of education. But the point I'm making is that, you know, all you have to do is do the work and, you know, and align yourself. Give some, I will say this, as a white person, because you asked the question, as a white person, it's very important to acknowledge, embrace, and to kind of default to Black people. Okay, I don't agree with you're not going to agree with everybody, but in general, you might want to say, hey, I'm in a new neighborhood. This isn't my neighborhood, but I care about what's happening in your neighborhood. So because I care, tell me what the deal is. And this is how I feel. So what's the best way to convey that? If you approach it more from a humble place, then you're gonna most likely end up in the right space every single time.
Hey Kenny, before you jump in, let's keep going around the room. Ben, you're up.
Just piggybacking off of what Jamie said, humble place, but humanistic approach. And that was just going to be my thing to you, right? At the end of the day, remove all the labels, right? Remove all the labels. When you think about young people, they're emotionally driven, right? So they're not looking at the tenets and the constructs that these organizations or these quote unquote movements are built off of, right? So I've heard a couple different things about Black Lives Matter. Then from what I hear from what Jamie's saying, so it wasn't Soros that started it, but it was another group that started it. But then Soros, I guess, came and started throwing money at it. But he started throwing money at it with his own agenda, right? And I totally feel you 100%. At this stage of the game, your mind is at the end of the block, right? Your mind is at the end of the block, knowing that that's what that is. But right now, where the fight is strategically, from a recognizance standpoint, whatever, the fight is, if you see a white cop on the street and he does something wrong, you got to step to him. So yeah, I will fuck you. Sorry, I will mess you up. Don't be doing that, right? You're dead wrong.
You can use the adult language here. Go ahead for it. Go
Right.
get it.
So you're dead wrong for that. And then it's vice versa. If I see the same thing, a black guy, like, you know, you're doing the wrong thing to a white person, whatever, like, I have a responsibility. Like, yo, what you're doing is wrong. Now, I don't know if that white person is racist or not. You don't know if that black person is racist or not. You see what I'm saying? But it's just, you just got to take the humanistic approach. Now, that may sound extremely ideal, but at the end of the day, if some shit really came down to it, and we all here in America, we all divided how we divided, and let's say the real enemy comes, what you think is going to happen? We're going to assimilate and forget all the differences at some point.
We've already done it. We've already done it.
Right. So that's it. I don't have nothing else to say.
All right, CGM, have you spoken up yet?
No, I haven't. Okay. So I think I kind of agree with Ed in a way, but I think the way I think of the Black Lives Matter movement is it's like one part of being anti-racist. And so I am a humanist, and I think that, like, as human beings, our biggest fight is not with each other, it's with nature. It's with climate change, it's with viruses, like, and we cannot effectively mount a defense against those things. Yeah, like, we can't fight those things if we're fighting each other. So I feel like the fight for Black equality is part of just like moving the human race forward to where we need to be, because we literally cannot fight climate change. America is the biggest polluter. Like, we lead all this shit. Like, if America pulls out of the Paris Accord, it all falls apart, whatever. Like, or one of the biggest polluters. If we don't lead on climate, it doesn't happen. And we can't lead on climate if we have a climate denier in the White House. And if we got a climate denier in the White House, partially because, yeah, China is, yeah, you're right. That's true. You're right. But we can't lead on climate if we have a climate denier in the White House. So anyway, like, for me, this is all about, but America is more powerful in the international cooperation with which we would need to proceed in order to defeat climate change. Right. And so anyway, my point is, I just wouldn't, if I were you, I just wouldn't nitpick so much. Like, really, this is just a movement that's about anti-racism. And it's like, move in it the way you want to move in it, the way you feel comfortable in your heart, which is, you know, I hear that you do a lot of work, you know, I'll keep doing that. But I probably just wouldn't nitpick the movement, because it's just part of a bigger anti-racism
I think the reason why Kenny's nitpicking it, and I'm not going to put words in his mouth, he'll do that later, is that there's so much other, like, negative things coming out of it too, right? It's not always positive. So there are some negatives coming out of it, right? And maybe that's the news. Maybe that's the news. Maybe they're only wanting to show us the negative.
We're talking about how he moves as an individual, right? Like, he literally asked, how do I move? So I'm saying, like,
good point.
If you anti-racist, just do your anti-racist. You don't have to be so anti.
You don't have to be
virtue. Well, no. I just think he has a platform. Yeah. He has a platform and he has energy. And I'm just saying, stop with the energy toward the other stuff. Use your energy toward what you see those Black kids out there doing, and speak on that. Bring that to a light. We already understand what, like Ed mentioned, all that rhetoric that's behind the scenes. Use the platform, because what you're doing is, I know you have a show here, you want to do perspectives, but that's how you can help. That's what you can do. You can highlight that. You can talk about what those kids are doing.
I think the show is doing basically what we're doing right now, boss. This right here is leaps and bounds beyond. Yeah.
But Freddie, we're talking about Kenny right now. Just focus on Kenny real quick. And Kenny asked the question. And that's why I just want to make sure. Use your platform, Kenny. Like you said, we thank you for that political agenda with the BLM. Thank you. Okay, now let's focus on the other stuff. You understand? And that's what you can do. And I'm done. I'm off my soapbox.
Kenny, go for it, man. Everybody spoke in. What you got, man?
Okay, first of all, I thank you for all your different opinions. I talk about politics a lot, and then I talk about movements as well. So I have very deep conversations with people. So a lot of the stuff that was said, in a different environment, right? I have a lot of those discussions because I just don't. Again, I gave up caring about whether people are going to believe that I'm racist the minute I meet them one way or the other. So actually, a lot of what is it Big Ben Ed? A lot of what Big Ed said is actually I got you. Is actually a lot of what I hear when I actually get in discussions. Now, to be fair, I appreciate CGM and Jamie very much because I haven't had as many discussions Black women and me for some of my closest friends, my actual business partners, maybe they'll see this at some point. But it's funny because their wives and me have hilarious discussions. Now, I love those women. They're great, strong women. But politically, it goes a little different than it does with me and most Black males. It's just how it's been. But, at the end of the day, I always just like to kind of play different ideas because I want to see success. And so I will definitely try to do better at some of the things that you did mention. I think CGM mentioned something that I know that I do. And I'm nitpicking for a reason because I'm trying to churn up a discussion. But I can understand how that, listening to you say that, I can see how somebody might look at that. And then all of a sudden they're on the defensive and it makes it a tougher place to get to the point. Because like Jermaine said, I don't want people to think I'm against the movement. And I think most people who watch the show regularly know I'm not against the movement because most of the people have seen my different angles that I believe in. But I appreciate all the feedback from everybody there. So, and we don't, do you have anything to say on that, Fred?
So my only thing is that earlier, I think we brought up a lot of topics. The flag that was brought up, I think Dre brought it up. He said that it's the new Confederate flag. My thing is this: at the end of the day, that's the home team jersey, right? I don't care. We got to make the place better. I get it. I'm on board. Let's make it better. But that's us to the rest of the world, right? At the end of the day, we got to love one another. You're on mute, King Brad. You're on mute, King Brad.
Oh, that's the home team jersey, but they point shaving. If you want to talk basketball, that's the home team jersey, but they point shaving.
All right, so
and you're right. And I think we can make it better together. I really do. And I am frustrated that, again, I think one of the big topics that we talk about on our show every week that is not being discussed, and I wish Black Lives Matter would get on board with this, is those elimination of those laws that I talked about. I think that would be really, really good. It's kind of the opposite of what they did when they over-incarcerated Black people from the 50s until today. And so the First Step Act was a good move, but it's got to go further, and it can only go further. And I'll get to you, CGM. It can only go further if we start cutting some of that stuff. And I was hoping they were going to say it in the defunding, but nobody said it. And I'm trying to listen, and I keep hoping that defund policehood was going to get there, and I just haven't seen them get there. Go ahead, CGM.
Oh, I was just wondering what laws you were. I missed that part. Sorry. What laws you were referring to?
So the laws. So I refer to two different things: laws that are on the books, and then laws that I think we should have. So the laws that should be off the books is what I would want to do is there's too many police interactions. Okay, there was 40 million traffic tickets written last year. 40 million. Those are money grabs. I think we all know that for the most part, right? And then what they do is
40 million interactions that could possibly go
40 million interactions.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Plus, what they do is when they pull you over, they don't give a damn if you're speeding. They want to find drugs on you. They want to find that you're drinking and driving. They want to up whatever that revenue. They want to get their big hit. And so what I'm saying is, because I'm a libertarian, just for anybody that wants to know. And so my belief is take away these things. For speeding, there's one speeding ticket. It's called reckless driving. If you're not reckless driving, then you're not a problem to anybody. People sitting at 55, 45, 35, Jamie, we'll get you, 55, 35, 25, just waiting to snag people so that they can investigate them. That's not how we're supposed to do it, I believe, in America. We're supposed to find have the crime, then try to find the perpetrator, not try to find crimes. And so those types of things and minor crimes, I don't even want them to be people going to jail like me.
Patrol. And hold on.
And Jamie, I'm going to come to you, I promise. But I wanted to get this in there because I know me and Brad had talked about it before. So on DUIs, this is 2020. As an officer, I can get all your information, and then you can contact an Uber driver. Or I want to give you some outs so that you're not going to jail. Okay, and so that's the type of stuff that I was talking about. Okay. So I'll go ahead and mute you for a second. All right, Jamie, go ahead. Sorry about that. I think I can't unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry.
Okay, clear. So no, those are all great, Kenny, but here's the issue. Even if the laws are changed but the people that are that we've given permission to enforce the laws have not, then you're still going to have the same scenario, because right now one of the main issues is Black and brown getting pulled over illegally.
I think
so it's already against the law.
I think if Kenny was saying we get rid of those,
but it's already
miscellaneous laws, they're not pulling them over anymore.
Get rid of what? Get rid of what? Get rid of what?
If we're getting rid of those miscellaneous incidents.
No, here's the thing. Even if you are to get rid of them, the people are still being pulled over illegally. My point is that in order for somebody to search, a police officer to search a car, they need probable cause. So there many times don't have probable cause. That's already the law. That's in your favor. But they force people into subconsciously surrendering their probable cause and saying, yeah, you can go ahead and search me to prove innocence. And then drugs get planted and things like that. So it's really, I think it's more focus should be on who these peace officers are and what their training is and what their intention is. If we have people, if you are a peace officer and you have to live in the community, now you have some accountability to the people around you. Now you have to get to know them. Or you have
love the people you.
Here's the problem, because I have a little bit of a disagreement with Fred on this one. I'm not a big fan of the policing your own community, even though I wish that it would work. My concern there is that one of the reasons police don't usually do that is because of corruption. And so I would want to see some more studies on that. That corruption would concern me some. What I do, I understand what you're saying. I've actually been pulled over for no reason at all. 2 in the morning, and I was listening to music loud, my windows down, not super loud, but loud enough. And they pulled me over. They were trying to catch me with DUI. I wasn't drinking and driving. Then they wanted to check my car for drugs. I said no. They sat me down for 2 hours on the side of the road. Then I said, screw it, go to my car. They ripped all my front dash off, saying they were looking for drugs. Guess what? There was none. And then they never put my car back together. So I can understand the frustration of being pulled over that way and treated that way. Now, I don't know why the hell the person did it, okay? But it was bullcrap. And so me being libertarian, I want those people fully held accountable. So I completely agree with you, Jamie. And I want, now that I think everybody here probably supports the video cameras, if somebody's pulling somebody over for no reason, and, we're going to have to cut this in the next couple minutes, but, we had this discussion about Breonna Taylor and the warrants, right? Like, they do too many warrants. They cannot just come in your house. I'm very protective of your personal stuff, in your vehicle, in your home, in your personal space, everybody. And I think that's where a lot of Black people have unfairly been, systematically oppressed, is through those situations. So I'm 100% behind police training that way. The stuff that Big Ed talked about earlier on that, 100% behind that.
Hey man, good show, man. Thank you for having the ventilators on. I appreciate you for letting us talk that talk.
Hey Jamie, I apologize. I had you on mute because we hear a lot of air in the background.
Oh, okay. That's okay. I just had a question, and we don't have to do it right now. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you mean about corruption from a cop living in the neighborhood, because my mother was born in the 1930s at the end, almost 40s, and they grew up with beat cops in their neighborhood. And if you go back and look at the crime around those times, it was a different scenario. There were different relationships with peace officers back then. So I'm just curious. I don't understand that point about if you live in the neighborhood and corruption.
Sure. So what they did was, and again, that's why I said when I don't know something for sure, that's why the first thing I said was I'm gonna have to go back and study some more reports on it. But here's how it has worked. So when I was in the Marine Corps and I did some policing while I was in, I wasn't in MP, but long story short, I ended up watching some people that I don't know if you want to call them criminals or what, but they're in the brig. And so as you're doing that, they want to make sure that you guys weren't in a previous unit together. Now, the reason that they do that is because their concern is corruption. And so in some of the reports that I've also read, when the way that police officers often do it is if they find out you were in this area, then let's say you grew up in that area, they don't want you there, because the thought is what if I was a big time, if I was a gangbanger, okay, and I wanted to be, I wanted to take now again, I'm libertarian, so I'd like to make some of these things legal so that these aren't an issue. But as of today, if I'm a major drug dealer, it would behoove me to have a connect within my own neighborhood. And if it was my buddy that I grew up with, and he's like, man, I can go get a job there 3 to 5 years, I can look out for you. That apparently was either happening or they were concerned that it might happen. So that's what I don't know, whether it was just somebody said that, so that's why they do it. But they tend to not put people in those situations. I would lean on believing the same thing that you said, that people in the neighborhood may be able to do that. But that is where that comes from. So I don't know enough on it. I don't have a position on it currently. I'm just saying that is some of the concern that I've seen before. And so that's what I'd want to research.
Jump in.
Also, just for Jamie, you said your parents during the 30s, or your grandparents was during the 30s. What was significant about that period of time?
Yeah, my mom, toward the end of, she was born in 1938, so the 40s.
So you're coming out of Prohibition period is kind of where I was going. So during those times, when you think about the mob, right? An organized set of standards, whether legal or illegal, doesn't matter, right? So it's a little bit different. So the cops who were on their payroll, sure, they probably were corrupt, but at the same time, listen, don't go over here and create trouble where there is no trouble. Keep it harmonious over here, right? And I'm not saying that all the cops were like that. I'm not saying that. And I'm not even saying that life should function that way. However, the absolutist mindset it's just not there. It doesn't work. Everything is balanced. So, but then even to King B's point about the corruption, listen, I know of cops who are drug dealers. You understand what I'm saying to you? Now,
I mean, yeah, I mean, they made a film about it, right? Training Day, but you can actually, so in LA, when Bernard Parks, so this was about 15 years ago when I got to LA, Bernard Parks started the beat cop situation again. And it wasn't required that you lived in the neighborhood, but you had to walk the beat. You had to get a relationship to the community. And crime actually went down. There's things you can, and my family's from Flint, Michigan. So the mob was not running Flint, Michigan. You know what I mean? That was big in Chicago. But all I'm saying is that's not the answer. I'm just saying that's an answer. Even the city of Berkeley in California, they require that their police officers have a 4-year degree and they go through multicultural training. But that city also got rid of Columbus Day and made it Indigenous Peoples Day, years ago. And the majority of the people in Berkeley are white people. But it's a rare place. It's a very rare place in America.
I think we could do with less cops. I think there are too many people that come home from the military who don't have jobs, who would better serve the community because they just came. I mean, you went over.
As long as they have no post-traumatic stress syndrome, they should definitely be first in line.
Them.
I agree.
That's right. Vet them. Not only just that, when you got the school police, you can get rid of a lot of them. There's so many soldiers who could come home.
They're all homeless and going through stuff. They need jobs. That's exactly a good point. I agree 100%.
The training is just different. It's a different type of thing because they're not you're deprogrammed from fear. Am I right, King B? I've never served, but my understanding is you're deprogrammed of fear, right? So
and a lot of times you're connected with a lot of, like in my unit, the unit that was right now, my unit was probably 70-30. No, it was probably less than, it was probably more than 50% black. My unit was. So, so you're serving with people, and at the end of the day, this flag right here, I'll tell you what, people can say whatever they want to say. I'm sure everybody has different experiences, but I went to war, and I'll tell you what, I don't give a gosh damn what color somebody was. They got that flag, and that's it. That's it. You are. So,
what city you live in?
So actually, I live in Valdosta, Georgia, right now. Okay. But I'm originally from the same place that actually Jermaine's from, and Fred. We grew up in Crofton, in the Maryland area. So between Annapolis, Baltimore, DC, in that area. And I've lived in Baltimore. I've lived in DC. I've lived in Bowie. I've lived in places that were 90% black. I've lived in places that I've never lived in a really white place. Because to be honest with you, it just wouldn't work for me. To each their own. That's just not really. I couldn't do it. So yeah, I need a boiling pot. That's just what I've always been around. That's what I like.
It's good.
But hey, thanks so much, everybody. Go ahead, Fred. You wanna lead us out here?
Hey, man. Hey, great discussion. I appreciate every one of y'all for joining in, especially Dre and I think LB. There you are. And then who did we just lose? Glenn, obviously, you're muted, Kenny. You're muted. But hey, look, listen, anytime you guys want to join in, hit Kenny up, hit Glenn up. I think they have y'all's phone numbers. If you see a topic, chat with us. All right, say, hey, look, I'd like to come in a little bit. All right, I got a great point I want y'all to discuss. We'd be more willing to discuss it. I mean, we're not going to solve America's problems here on this show, obviously. But this is what it's about, right? To talk to one another, to see what's going on the other side, and listen. So nothing's going to get solved if you don't listen. I think this was perfect tonight.
One more thing to add, real quick. You want to help?
Yeah.
The single black mothers in your community who don't want to buy a gun because they're scared to buy a gun, offer them training. Go get a certification to be a trainer. Teach them how to not be afraid of using a gun and say, listen, get this gun.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Help people.
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's about, right?
I don't know.
Crystal is like, wait a minute.
CGM and Jamie real quick.
I have black female friends that are single moms down here that I'm very close with.
CGM and Jamie got real quiet.
Hey, Kenny. Next time you have police conversation, talk to the only police officer on the panel, please.
I'm sorry, Jermaine. Dude, my bad. That is all on me, bro. We had a police officer. I'm an idiot, dude. My bad. I totally forgot, bro.
Hey, look, we do this show Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9:15 every night. So hit us up. We'd love to have y'all back.
Did you want to say one last thing, CGM? No.
Oh no. I mean, I'm anti-gun, so you know.
I got you, and I'm super pro-gun, so we can have that talk sometime. But hey, thanks so much, Jamie. Thanks so much, CG.
Have a good night, everybody.
Jermaine.